Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this 1 hour with Europe appointment organized by the NTNU Brussels office. I'm Massimo Pusuoli. I am the head of the Brussels office of the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and today I have the honor and the pleasure to have with us Anna Panagopoulou, which is the director of the ERA and Innovation Directorate in DG Research and Innovation. Before going to the topic of the day, which is, as you know, the European Research Area, and the latest about it, because the Commission has made an excellent job in highlighting what could be the best ways and the best actions to make the European Research Area becoming relaunched and becoming a useful tool for the implementation of the family of the research performance at European level. I would like just to spend a few words about NTNU. NTNU, as you know, is the largest Norwegian university. We are currently very engaged in giving our contribution to the establishment of the European Research Area to contribute in the research and innovation landscape. If you are interested to collaborate with NTNU, we have also prepared a set of brochures that you can find on our website. I kindly ask my colleagues to share my presentation to give you this brief overview. If you go on the NTNU Brussels office website, you will find on the first page a very simple banner that will drive you to next one. Yeah. Yeah, this banner, if you click on the banner on the NTNU Brussels office website, you are going to be directed to a set of brochures that collect the interests of our professors in the course to come. So there you can find your ideal player to discuss with in case you would like to open a collaboration dialogue with our university. The address of the website is, next one, ntnu.edu/Brussels. And of course, if you don't find an appropriate profile in the brochures, feel free also to contact the Brussels office, and we will be able and will be happy to support you in finding the right counterpart for scientific dialogue with the NTNU scientific community. Given that, I would like then to not to lose too much time. Welcome, Anna. Welcome to this 1 hour with Europe appointment. We are very happy to have you here because today we are discussing about a very hot topic in the Brussels agenda for the moment, which is the launch of the European Research Area. I know that you have a presentation to share with us. So if we can share the presentation for Anna, we are going to have a presentation about the current status of implementation of the European Research Area and the actions that are going to happen. And after it, we are opening the floor for questions and answers. So if you would like to challenge Anna with your observation or questions about the initiative, feel free to write your name in the Q&A section of the Zoom, and we will give you the floor. Be prepared because you will be given the right to speak and appear on the camera. Given that, Anna,
thank you
the floor is yours. The presentation is there, and you have the slide changer.
Thank you very much, Massimo, and thank you. Sorry? Yes, no.
The
other way around.
No, I need to turn it on.
Okay,
yeah. Sorry.
So
that's okay.
Thank you very much, Massimo, for the invitation, and good afternoon to everybody. Actually, it's a great opportunity for me to be here with you, not only because I have the pleasure to speak about ERA, European Research Area, a topic that fascinates me. Actually, the last 2.5 years, I think I spent at least 50% of my time pushing for the European Research Area, the new activities, the reforms, and in member states, and what we can do in order to push policies which make our European Research Area, research and innovation across Europe more effective, more efficient, and help Europe to be the technological leader in the world. But I like very much this concept of 1 hour with Europe, because I think it's a great opportunity to reach out to people, expert and non-experts at the end, because it's like a citizen dialogue where we can share also information about the initiatives in Brussels, initiatives that you may think that in the closed offices of the Commission, the bureaucratic Commission, but no, we have to outreach, we have to discuss with you, and we have to be really able to deliver to design and deliver the European research area with you, and this is what we try to do the last 2.5 years. It is also a very important moment that we have the discussion, because we have a big progress made over the period. We have agreed with the European Council on a list of actions that we would like to do together with the member states and the stakeholders, and we need your support to implement them. Because what we always say is that together with the member states, the public administration can speak about ERA, can design policies, can propose reforms, but it's up to the universities and the research organization and the researchers themselves to do it. It's not up to us. So we really need to have your buy-in, and we really want to be able, what we deliver, to fit your needs, and then it could be embraced by you. And finally, I think it's a very important moment, because when we started to draft the communication on the European research area, it was the period where we had the COVID crisis. And that changed completely the prioritization of what we put in the policy document, because we had to address the pandemic. We needed to have more research and innovation for more resilient Europe. It was the period that we have to focus also on green and digital, and of course to put all together our efforts to overcome the situation. And now that we are implementing the ERA, we have a new crisis. And this new crisis is the invasion in Ukraine, which changed completely the situation. And in the sense that, first of all, we are talking nowadays about a food crisis, we are talking about an energy crisis, and all this research and innovation and acceleration of new technologies could play an important role. Because on the one side, we do need to deliver our goals for green transition, for climate neutrality. But on the other side, we say, okay, but how we can afford the energy prices, how we can ensure food security. And we believe through research and innovation, we will be able to address both challenges and needs. So, but let's try with start with my presentation. I think I made a long introduction.
That's perfect.
And maybe it's like this, yes.
Should work. Otherwise, we ask the colleagues to say.
No.
No, doesn't work. Can you do next, Aaron? Then yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm sure all of you are extremely familiar with Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020. Of course, it's a big funding instrument, and I don't think to say more than that. You have participated to the calls, you have succeeded or less succeeded, but how many of you know what is European research area? When we started to design the new policy, we all discussed with the member states, do they know that? Do they know what it means? And just allow me to remind, what is the European research area? It's part of the treaty. It's the single market, which enables the broadness interaction between researchers, knowledge, the mobility of researchers and knowledge, and we put the framework of collaboration between the member states with the Commission in order to deliver an effective and efficient research and innovation system. 20 years of ERA, and where we stand, we have realized that a lot of progress was done, but there were still a lot of challenges, starting with the investments. The member states, we agreed about the 3% target investment of R&D, and the average is 2.1. And I can reassure you that under the current situation, probably it will go lower. Second, mobility of researchers is part of the policy. It is very much encouraged, but do we have the framework conditions that will enable the mobility of researchers? What about the pension right? What about the recognition of the researcher as an employee across the member states? The third point, we develop excellent results. We have excellent publications, but are we able to provide value and to turn these results to products for the market and for the society? Or we are lagging behind that? We have seen the vaccine, Pfizer vaccine, BioNTech innovation has been taken up in the market in the United States. There is also a big need there to do more. And what about the excellence Excellence is a key priority, but do we have excellence across Europe? Or we still have this innovation divide that we have to address, and how we can address it in a coherent way so that we are not going to jeopardize excellence. So there are a lot of challenges that we have, and all this has been taken into consideration while we're preparing the new European Research Area communication. So in 2020, September, we had a new communication with four main priorities, objectives, I would say. The first one is deepening the ERA. So how we can further progress on what we have already put in place, the free circulation of knowledge and people, how we can address the gender balance issues, how we will be able to improve the framework conditions of researchers and to promote excellent science, and how we will be able to go from an approach of coordination to deeper integration across Europe. The second priority is what we can do more to translate the research and innovation results into the economy. The European Innovation Council, it is a response to promote deep tech innovation across Europe. Is it enough? We have the European partnerships. The European partnerships is there to bring the industry together with the research community. But again, do we exploit enough? And how we can link our results with the industries. We have the 14 industrial alliances adopted by the Commission, by the member states, how we can do more to bring our results to the industry, how we can do more about IPs. So a lot of questions are at the table, which I don't think at European level we managed to reply. Improving access to excellence, a variety of participants on the other side of the table that we don't see. I'm sure there is a variety of performance. There is a variety of possibilities and to participate to the calls of Horizon Europe. And there is also, in many occasions, disappointment that applicants, they feel they are not excellent enough to be financed by Horizon Europe. They are not excellent enough to be taken as partners in consortia. But is it only what we have to do at European level, or we expect that the member states as well, they have to do reforms, they have to do investments in order to improve their performance, which will facilitate, first, to attract talents to those countries, second, to give the possibility to flourish the organization and to be more competitive and to be more excellent and participating to the big consortia. And last but not least, prioritizing investment and reforms. I just said it. And very soon we are going to have a report of the Court of Auditors about the widening measures under Horizon 2020. And the message would be, widening measures are good, but they are not enough, because the member states, they have to do the work. And they have to do the work in order to address the reforms that are needed to advance our research and innovation performance. They have to do work to improve their investments on research and innovation, but also they have to do work to join forces with other member states to big European projects, because only by joining forces we will be able to address the big challenges that we have, instead of working in isolation. And here I would like to add another point that has been touched but not yet addressed by the European Research Area communication. It is the innovation. What we can do in order to address the innovation performance at regional, local, national level, and what we can do in order to connect the innovation centers at European level and to alleviate the fragmentation that we have currently. This is something probably that we reply very soon with the new strategy document that we are having under preparation. So these are the objectives of the, sorry, yes, I need your help. These are the objectives of the new European Research Area and what we try to do to address them. First of all, after the adoption of the communication and the Council conclusions that the German presidency put in place in 1st December 2022, we worked very intensively with all member states and stakeholders in order to develop the new policy framework of European Research Area and to put in place the implementation of all the actions that we have envisaged. First of all, we have established a forum, the ERA Forum for Transition, for 1 year that we work together with the member states to deliver a pact for research and innovation. What is a pact for research and innovation? It's a council recommendation, which means that the council recommends to the member states to take actions. In which areas? First, to deliver research and innovation based on values and principles. Here I would like to speak about research integrity, academic freedom, work at the international sphere, make sure that excellence is one of the criteria that will be always taken into consideration while we're doing research and innovation, but also to see what we can do more in order to improve the conditions for research across Europe. There are 10 values and principles. There are 4 priority areas that have been identified as the priority areas in which Commission and Member States will work for a period of 10 years, deepening the ERA, the broadening ERA and relevance, amplifying access to excellence, and advancing R&I investments and reforms, which are very coherent and very much matching the priorities under the communication. And also, we have put concrete research and development targets that could be followed by the member states as well on a voluntary basis, also related to investments for research and development. The second part that we have managed to achieve in this policy framework was the Council conclusions under the Slovenian presidency on how to design the new ERA governance, an ERA governance which is open, an ERA governance which is inclusive, and we have not just member states, but associated countries and stakeholders participating. And this is the new ERA forum that was put in place this year at the beginning of the year, and its subgroups, but also we tried the ERA, the advisory body of the Council of the Commission, that was somehow was not very active or not very, how shall I say, some discussions were boring. I put it like this: how we will use it in the best possible way. We upgrade the level of participation at the Director General level from the member states and give them the possibility to give more strategic approach and orientation. And last but not least, and I think this is the most interesting part for all of you, is that in the Council conclusions, there were attached a list of 20 actions. 20 actions that they are matching or part of the 4 priority areas, and they have to be implemented between 22-24. So there are concrete actions that the Council decided to put in place under the condition that at least half of the member states, they will be committed to contribute to those actions. So it's a real joint agenda, and it's not be possible to be implemented without contributions and support of the member states, but also of the stakeholders. So if we go to the next slide, what are those 20 actions that we have? So we'll try to start first with the first priority area, which is related to deepening on the ERA. So there you see that there are 9 actions that are related to this: open sharing of knowledge, data legislation, future research, reform of the research assessment, strengthen research careers, gender equality and inclusiveness, protect academic freedom, better knowledge valorization, strengthen research infrastructures, and promote international cooperation. So, but I would like to focus in particular to one of those areas, and this is the reform of the research assessment. This is, I would say, the hottest topic that we discuss nowadays. And what I see is whenever I'm invited to speak to an audience, whether it is related to the university's strategy, whether it is related to innovation ecosystem, whether it is related to, I don't know, Horizon Europe program, at the end, the discussion is focused on how we can change the way the research that it is evaluated, so that it will be possible for the research organization and the researchers themselves to respond to the needs of the society, to have a better career opportunities, to have a more diverse career opportunities, and indeed to deliver their results for the benefit of the market and the society. If we don't change the system, if we don't make it possible to provide incentives to those researchers and organizations to do the work differently, I believe they will continue to produce nice papers, that they will be published, but then probably there will be no need for doing something more. So we need to change the system if we need to have different results. So if we go to the next slide, please. I would like indeed to say what we'll try to do with this activity on the reform of the research assessment. First of all, we respect the competencies of the member states and we respect the independence of the organization. So this is not something, or at least it's not mature enough to have a directive or a legislation that is going to be imposed to the member states and then to the institutions on changing the research system. But what we try to do is to mobilize and motivate those that are interested to work together and to look on how we can change the research system. And this is exactly what we try to do through establishing a coalition which is owned by the stakeholders. The Commission plays the role of the facilitator there in order to discuss together on what needs to be done. And in this coalition, first of all, the idea is to sign an MOU or a coalition agreement with the participating organizations, which is stakeholders or research organizations, but also funders, research and innovation funders, and agree on the way forward, on an action plan on how to work together to make this transformation. And the challenge there is that you cannot change in one university when you know that you have to compete with all the others that they are not changing the system. So the change should come from all sides, and the risk will be taken by many and not just by one. And this is what we try to achieve with this coalition. We have a scoping paper that was already prepared, and we are happy. I mean, you have the links here for those that have not seen it. You can read it. And we have a time plan that will try to engage the stakeholders to draft with a small drafting team the text of the coalition, and then to sign it around September by the Commission and the participants so that we put in place and to start implementing it. There will be criteria, idea of what kind of criteria we have to use for the evaluation of the research system. It will be about researchers, but also about the organizations. So if we go to the next slide, the second area that I think it is important to highlight is what we can do to broaden the ERA. This is the other priority area. So, and here we have actions that are related to R&I missions and partnerships for ERA, the green energy transformation, which is a very concrete, very important priority. It will not happen without research and innovation, the green and digital transition of industrial ecosystems, empower higher education institutions, and bring science closer to citizens. I'm sure you are very much familiar about missions and partnerships under Horizon Europe, but you should be familiar also in the fact that these missions and partnerships will not be implemented just with Horizon Europe funding. So we do need to have the collaboration with the member states, and we need to have the collaboration, the participation of the stakeholders at all levels in order to do the research and to deliver the expected outcomes. With the new reform in the partnerships, we make them more open. It is possible to have small and big players. It is possible to open to more member states participation. With the missions, we want to have deliverables in the very short term, including the local authorities, but then we need to have the buy-in, otherwise it will not be delivered. But allow me to focus on what we have to do to empower the higher education institutions, because we do believe that universities and an empowered role of universities in the overall context of ERA will be essential in order to deliver ERA. And if we go to the next slide, please. I would like to remind to all of us about a document that I'm sure that you have read. I'm sure that you have contributed because we worked with all of you together with the colleagues from DGAC in order to deliver the new strategy for universities. And I'm sure that you have criticized as well, because probably at some some parts are very ambitious, like the idea of having these joint diplomas or the idea of having the legal status. But in some cases, probably is less ambitious because maybe you would have liked to see more concrete synergies between research, innovation, and education, which we'll try to do the best, but it's still an education package. So in this strategy for universities, we try to have 4 main objectives to address. First, how we can strengthen the European dimension in higher education and research, and to really bring the transnational cooperation to higher level. You have the experience of university alliances. It's a very good model. It's a very nice test bed. But the moment the contract is finished, the collaboration is finished. So that's not enough in order to upgrade the excellence of our universities and to make them global leaders, which is the 4 objectives that we have. So we really need to put ourselves to work together. And there is also a council recommendation accompanying this communication that it has to be implemented in order to bring the member states to work together on reforms and on changes of the way the universities are working nowadays. The second one is that universities is the center, or is, let's say, the lighthouses of the European way of life. So academic freedom, it's fundamental, right? We have it in the ERA, we have it in this communication. So we really need to ensure collectively that universities are the places where academic freedom is a main principle of the way they work. But also we need to do more work to address the inclusiveness, gender balance, and more opportunities, more equal opportunities for everybody participating in or working in the universities. So gender, it has been a priority in Horizon Europe, in ERA, and it has to be something particularly looked at the university level. What we have put in Horizon Europe, there is an obligation to have gender plans for all the organizations that are participating to Horizon Europe. This is, let's say, the obligation that we put as a funder, but that's not enough because everybody is not applicant or participant to Horizon Europe. We need to do things for reforms inside the universities as well. And also what we can do so that we will equip our students, our researchers, our academics with the skills that they will be able to have a long-standing career. And last but not least, green and digital. In all communication of the commissions, of course, we will speak about green and digital, but in this particular case, and during COVID situation, first of all, we have seen how important it is that the universities, they have the opportunity to transform to the digital reality and to use the digital opportunities that exist for continuing their work, but also what we see also from the research point of view, we are working a lot on the open science. We believe that data should be shared openly, research data, and that we need to have a database where the data of the universities are shared and they can be reused by the other researchers. And of course, what we have to do in order to bring the universities themselves, but also to streamline strategically the work that is done on research and innovation to contribute to green transition. So the next one, please. Now, here I would like also to highlight another priority which is very relevant for higher education is first, what we can do more to develop the synergies between European research area and European educational area. Universities are in the middle. So we have to continue our efforts in order to enhance the collaboration within the universities and with the policy developments that we do in the Commission to promote this collaboration. We have a very clear example. The European Universities Initiative, established by Erasmus+, has been topped up with funding under Horizon 320, where we could see that the alliances will not only look at the reforms that they have to put in place and the transformations for education, but also equally at the same time, they could look what needs to be done in order to improve the research and innovation excellence. So this is a concrete example We try to do more in the next period, also through the widening call, where we'll have the opportunities to provide funding from transformations to universities, including the alliances, and helping them to collaborate, to share the infrastructures that they have, to collaborate on curriculum, on research activities, so really to work together. And the second thing that we would like to see in these synergies is how we empower the universities and help the universities to become competitive at a global level. So this is a key priority after Brexit. I believe it becomes even stronger priority for Europe because we are losing a big community. And we will see how, of course, the program, there are still negotiations about the participation, but still from the legislative, from the policy reform point of view, we are not anymore together. And there is a need to upgrade the excellence of European universities in this context. If we go to the next slide. So the last point, I think is the last one, I have two more.
It's okay, it's okay.
It's okay still? Okay, the next one is about widening the ERA. I said that at European level, we need to look more on how to ensure the reduction of innovation divide, I would say the promotion of innovation cohesion and reaching excellence across Europe. So it is very important that we will be able to reform and to support regional and national R&I ecosystems. And there we can do it in two different ways. First of all, through the widening programs that we have put in place, where there are specific activities established. In particular, I would like to talk about the Center of Excellence. It's a new action that has been launched already now with a lot of success. We had a high oversubscription, where we ask actors at the local system to bring their forces together in order to collaborate for establishing a research and innovation ecosystem which will improve its capacities. It will be used, the existing capacities, but also will be able to collaborate with other more advanced ecosystems in another region. So this is very important. And we think through this collaboration of different ecosystems, we will be able to improve the potential of our European system in general. There are examples in big centers, but there are examples also in widening countries. I have seen examples in widening countries where they have created an excellent ecosystem. And in order to do that, what we would like to stimulate from European level is the synergies, the partnerships between the public authorities, between the stakeholders and private sector. So clearly, if you have startups or a spin-off in a university, if the regional authorities, they have decided to prioritize in a specific domain of technological development, for example, thinking about hydrogen, and if the universities and the research organizations around this region, they also focus the research on that. And if there is an industrial partner, either in the region or abroad, who would be interested to capitalize on the results of this research, so we have an ecosystem which is delivering and which is strategically positioned itself and it is well interconnected to a European center. So it's extremely important that we work on this. And as I said, the new strategy for innovation will address this issue in particular. The ERA hubs, it's another example that I would like to speak. It's the next one, which is really aiming to address also this issue. So what we could do more in order to reinforce place-based innovation ecosystems. And we have developed this new concept of the ERA hubs, and there is a pilot call under the ERA part of the program to test the concept. So what we're trying to do with this ERA hubs objective, first, to strengthen the territorial cohesion and the place-based growth. Second, to create the networking framework to collaborate and exchange best practices, to interconnect the ecosystems and to make them interoperable, but also to stimulate excellence by this interconnection between the different ecosystems, and also to attract and retain talent in the countries and regions. And here I would like to highlight also that there is another priority that we have put under the ERA part of the widening part of the program, which is called ERA Talents and ERA Fellowships. The ERA Fellowships is very much similar to Marie Skłodowska-Curie, and the aim is to promote the mobility of researchers at the PhD level, but researchers and institutions that are in the widening countries, so it's the widening part of that. And the ERA Talent will address another priority in the sectorial mobility between academia and business, between a widening country and an advancing country, so that we have the circle, really, the mobility of the circle, aiming to retain the talents, but they help the talents in the widening countries to upgrade the skills and their potential. So these are issues that we are working now, and I hope that we will be able really to bring the expected outcomes of innovation cohesion across Europe, but also attracting talents and creating the dynamics of the local-based innovation ecosystem. Next slide, please. Then, fantastic 20 actions, and one of those ERA monitoring mechanism. Why? Because the member states and you, the stakeholders, you will tell us after 2-3 years, okay, fantastic, what you deliver concretely. And it's true that we are now still at the phase of designing the policy agenda, at the phase of trying to attract the interest of member states and stakeholders and to commit themselves to implement the actions. And we have to monitor how we do it. So this monitoring that concerns the member states and concerns also the Commission. So what are the contributions from both sides? And we have to be able every 18 months to monitor what happened. And we have to be able to see if there is no advancement in one or the other action, then we have to change. So this policy agenda is flexible, and it has to be reviewed if we see that something goes wrong or there are new priorities that we have put in place. So if you go to the next slide, I would like to explain to you how this monitoring system will work. So basically, we need to have a policy platform which will be open and available to everybody, with inputs coming from the Commission and the member states. So what the member states did to contribute to its action, what the member states did on investments, what the Commission did in the same way. And then there will be two parts. One part will be the dashboard and the scoreboard that will be available for everybody at aggregated level. And another part will be a report for each member state. So how each member state is advancing with the ERA policy agenda, is advancing with the research and innovation system. And this report will be used for a dialogue between the Commission and the member states in order to facilitate them in their trip to be an excellent part of research and innovation system. So this is overall how we plan to report and to monitor. And it's much more complex than that, by the way, because if for each one of the actions we have to report and monitor, it's not going to be very easy, but we try to do our best to work with the member states and to deliver that. So in conclusion, the last slide. I can say that we are proud that we did a very rapid progress. And this was thanks to all of you that you worked with us, thanks to the member states, and of course, thanks to Commission staff that they were very committed to do that. The presidencies helped us a lot, the three of the presidencies, and already with the new three of the presidencies, we have also a lot of good collaboration established. So the commitment is there. We have a new communication, we have a new policy package, a new ERA policy agenda, a new forum to advance. What we need to do now is to finalize our discussions. Actually, this week we are going to finalize our discussions with the member states for each one of the ERA of the action in the ERA policy agenda, to define the concrete deliverables, to have explanatory documents, and the next step is to ask them to provide their commitments so that we know who really wants to work and to do what. And then we establish the monitoring framework. And then by the mid of 2022, we hope that we have the blessing of the council that we did a good work, and then to start the actual implementation. Because I think despite the good progress made, and I repeat that and I say that to my colleagues in the ERA forum, if there is no commitment from the member states, it will remain a Brussels exercise without the expected outcomes. And the stakeholders, we cannot do the research assessment in the office of Brussels. It's the stakeholders they have to implement. So thank you very much. I hope it was clear and not too long.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive reflection about the new relaunched ERA strategy. And I see that the questions are already starting flowing, and I'm going to give the floor to the audience soon. I would like just to take the privilege of being the host and being the moderator of the event to pose the first question, which is basically based on personal experience. You know that I'm in Brussels since quite long, and I've seen also the previous version of the ERA implementing attempt, which I think had a lot of important impact, but didn't fully succeed. We must admit it. You also mentioned that the target of the 3%, which was a target for the previous ERA and has been relaunched in this new, is probably not going to be attained, also because of the crisis, the war, so on. So I'm wondering, I have the impression that the atmosphere this time is totally different compared to the past. I see more commitment, I see more element of attention from the member states and so on, but I still see, also coming from one of the member states, I'm Italian, as you know, that there are some struggling anyhow, because somehow the wishes sometimes do not match the availability of even local funding to be invested in the large amount of activities that are going to be in place. You mentioned the missions, you mentioned the strategic partnerships and so on. So do we have to be somehow confident that this time will be better or not? That's my question.
Well, I think yes, and this is what I was explaining also to the research working party, to the member states, when we're very reluctant, not for the 3%, nobody put into question the 3%, but for the other targets that we have about commitments from public level. We have, the first time we have the resilience recovery plans. What are the resilience recovery funds? Are money to be spent by the member states. It's a big shot of money, including research and innovation. We have analyzed 22 of the resilience recovery plans. Member states, they have declared around 44 billion euros on research and innovation activities. So this, at the end, is national contribution, because this money are belonging to the member states. So yes, this time we have more chances to say that there is commitment and there will be the potential to reach the target, but not just to reach the target, but to deliver the results of that. Second, we have the structural funds, and all the countries now, they're preparing the operational programs. I can reassure you that we are consulted in every single structural fund plan from the member states. We put the word of ERA, we put the word of mission, we put the word of partnership. And we have, for the first time at the legal framework, the legal possibility to make the synergies between Horizon Europe and structural funds a reality. It's the first time member states, they can use structural funds as national contributions to partnerships. So there is a way to do more. And I think the third thing that I would like to highlight, I believe after the COVID crisis, is very clear to the member states that research and innovation is a means and a vehicle to deliver what is needed by the society. So it has impact. Imagine without vaccines, where we would have been today. Yeah. Not together, certainly. So research and innovation proved both basic research, but also through the ways that we did innovation procurement. It was very important that we did this procurement so that we will be able to have the market update of the results of the research in the technologies mRNA to the market. So I believe, yes, there are more chances, there are more commitments. research and innovation is more highly in the agenda. But and yes, as I said, despite the crisis of the war now, if you look at the political documents of the Commission, still research and innovation is there in order to deliver the transitions that we need.
Okay, I would like to open the floor to the question. I see the first one that reserved the right to pose the question is Richard Tuff. So Richard, it's nice to see you with us today. We are going to promote you as a panelist, so for you to appear on the screen and pose your question directly to Anna. Richard, just accept the upgrade. Yeah. And open your microphone and camera.
We cannot hear.
We cannot hear you. But probably is our problem. Do you hear him? No? No? Apparently there is an issue with your microphone, Richard. Try to unmute you. You are muted. Try. No.
But I saw the question if there is a problem.
Yeah, maybe we can just read your question online. I'm very sorry for this problem, but we need to proceed. So how will the ERA and ERA hubs be linked to regional smart specialization strategies?
So very good question, and I don't have the reply, but we are working on the reply. Because as I said, we are thinking about new activities to capitalize on the basis of the strategies that are developed at regional level through the S3. We are targeting also to see probably how these strategies would fit the purpose of deep tech technologies for sustainability. And there is a call for that was launched recently by the Committee of Regions about a new methodology for sustainability and based on smart specialization. And what we would like to see is that from the moment the region has a strategy defined with a smart specialization, in order to deliver concrete innovations in a region, what are the capacities and the services that they need in the region in order to deliver the expected outcome, the expected innovation. So how they can connect the ecosystem, how they can help the partners of the ecosystem to be connected at European level, whether there are research infrastructures in an area, capacities, and then could be used as services for testing new technologies. So in this context, and while we're defining the concept of the ERA hubs, we would like to test and to use and to connect these two things. Now, whether at the end, I mean, the idea is indeed to have some place-based capacities like Digital Innovation Hub, I give an example, which will be more focused on sustainability or other innovation areas, which could help the region to develop its innovation potential based also on the strategies they define smart specialization. Why this is important? Because if we want to deliver the expected outcome, we want that the regions will be able to use structural funds money. I mean, we can support from the innovations, from the Horizon Europe side, but the synergies with structural funds and the possibility of the regions to use structural funds to deliver the social transition that they want, the innovation that they want, it's very important. And I can reassure you that also our colleagues from DG Regio are very much interested for that, because there is an important envelope for research and innovation, and they want that this envelope, it will be spent in the best possible way, so that we deliver to the big political priorities established by the unit as well.
Thank you. Richard, thank you for your question and
clear.
sorry for the technical issue. Next one that asked to intervene is Mathilde Dam. So Mathilde, we are going to upgrade you, hoping that this time the audio will work. Just 1 second. Now you should accept our invitation to become a panelist and pose your question directly. Yeah, Mathilde, can you open your microphone and camera?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so my question is about action 13, where you said to empower the education institutions. You said something about like it will happen through the widening pillar of Horizon Europe. So my question is, can we, like, will it only be through the widening pillar, or will we see that this widening instrument will also happening in other parts of Horizon?
Well,
does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Matilda. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. If you screen or look at the Horizon Europe program, you have done it, I'm sure. There is no particular objective or priority for universities. Of course, universities, they can participate to all the calls by doing the research activities, but there is no particular priority for universities, for reforms in universities, for transformation in universities. The only areas where you can see that is under widening, with the restrictions, of course, that we have with widening, because widening, it is for helping stakeholders in the widening countries to increase excellence. So advancing, let's put it like this, universities from advancing countries and widening countries, they can work together, but they should be, I think 70–75% of the funding goes to stakeholders for widening countries. And we have activities under the ERA part of the program. These are the two priorities that we have now related to the synergies and the empowerment of the higher education institutions. And I will invite you to take the opportunity of these calls, because I can tell you already that the results of the first calls were not very successful, because we didn't have a lot of participation. Maybe it was not well advertised, maybe it was not well prepared. It was the first time that we did that. Maybe you missed the opportunity to spend time to look a little bit on what we have in ERA. I would like to remind you that for widening, we are talking about 3 billion euros. It's the first time that the Union decided such a big package for the widening countries. And for ERA, we don't have a lot. We have around 400 million euros, but we try to align these 400 million euros to the priorities of the 20 actions that you will see as part of the ERA policy agenda.
Yeah, if I can add on this, I think that the ERA-related calls have been mislooked or maybe not fully taken by universities, because my impression is that the implementation of the participation in these calls touch upon the institutional layer of the university, which normally is not the normal target for applications like the one you're looking for. So maybe this is also one of the aspects that have limited the participation, and also the fact that the stakeholders that are targets for this call have not completely seen the opportunity behind what you're doing. Because my understanding of the ERA calls is that basically are meant to try to give a contribution to the implementation of the ERA agenda. So I think they are very strategic and very important for stakeholders like my university or other university in Europe. So the next question is coming from Tobias Badestorm from RCN. It's nice to have you with us. Tobias, just 1 second. We upgrade you to panelist. So for you to intervene directly, just accept our invitation. There you are. You can open your microphone and camera, Tobias. Are you talking? Because we are not hearing you. Yeah.
Yes, no.
There you are.
Yes, hello. Firstly, I want to congratulate the NTNU. I think 1 hour with Europe is a simple and brilliant concept. And to Anna, I'm a NCP for Cluster 2 and the ERA. And I think you are doing a very good job in chairing the program committee, balancing the ERA and the widening aspects, which I know is not easy. So about the ERA, I'm afraid that it becomes a bit too broad or complicated. You have 20 proposed ERA actions with large documents and sub-targets underneath. And on top of this, you have the ambition to link the ERA closer to the European higher education area, the skills agenda, the European universities, etc., which I in principle support. But does this make it demanding to reach industry and sectors outside research and innovation? So just to finalize, the broad area the broad ERA also requires the involvement of more sectorial ministries, perhaps, and we should strive, in my opinion, to get a new ERA which is easy to communicate. And I'm not sure if we are there yet. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tobias. Actually, you touch my heart with that, huh? Because we have, at the last forum, by the way, we have been discussing how we can make ERA more branding that is understandable, and it's easier to communicate to those people that they are not necessarily the expert, because of course when you start to speak about the research assessment or the career of researchers with the framework condition, etc., probably this is not a nice way to, or an easy way to communicate to non-experts. Yes, we will have one of our priorities is to see how we communicate better about ERA, and any ideas are more than welcome from you as well. What we try to do, and also we had a very nice video, by the way, I don't know whether you saw it when we launched the ERA communication, we try to put in the middle the researcher. So indeed, all the actions aim to support the researchers. Indeed, there is a proliferation of the different activities under the ERA part of the program. You're absolutely right. And sometimes it's difficult to follow. But nevertheless, what we'll try to do is to streamline these actions and to organize it in a way that we will be able indeed to have the expected outcome. And we fully agree with you that when we speak about ERA, within or without the work program, because it's not only a matter of the work program, we have to involve also the sectorial ministries. And this is something that we discuss very much also with my Director General, Jean-Éric Paquet, on how we will make an impactful change with ERA at the member state level by involving the sectorial ministries. This is very important. So this is an issue that we try to think in the context of the program by collaboration with my colleagues that are responsible for the other program committees. And here I can take a very concrete example. One of the priorities of ERA and the success story are the research infrastructures. So research infrastructure is a success story, and we are moving ahead in order to see how we can use more the research infrastructures for providing services to missions, providing services to the societal challenges that we have. That means that we need, through the other program committees, through the other clusters and the work programs, to advertise the possibilities of use the research infrastructures. So this is one way. The second issue is about universities and how we can empower the universities also through cooperation with the industry. So we have to see also in the actions we put in place on creation, on synergies with the ecosystems now, and also in the context of the European Innovation Ecosystem Program, because this is also a great opportunity to bring universities close to industry and to business, how we can make this more effective. One of the ERA actions is the industrial roadmaps. Industrial roadmap, it is a very difficult and challenging thing that we will happy to present the first industrial roadmap in June, where we try indeed to make the link between the research actors and activities and make the pathway to the industry. So how we can do that? That's not easy. Last but not least, what we plan to do is to start enhanced dialogues with the member states on the ERA implementation, on the implementation of the missions, partnerships, and what we'll try to do to engage from our side colleagues from the thematic DGs, if it is in the interest of one of the countries, for example, hydrogen, renewable energies. So we'll try to bring along with us colleagues from the thematic DG together with the colleagues from research and innovation dealing with the domain. And mutatis mutandi, we would ask the member state in this dialogue to bring along their colleagues from the sectorial ministries. So we really try to establish this collaboration and framework, which will go beyond the framework of research and innovation actors. And in this vein, we have the forum, and we are going to establish some subgroups. One idea is in the subgroup of a forum or as a separate group to have a group where we bring together research ministries and ministries for economy responsible for the structural funds, because in a way, and the managing authorities, because this is the way that you will actually be able to explain how synergies will happen and to promote the ideas of synergies and bring the two communities to work together for joint goals at European level.
Interesting, very interesting, and also interesting the challenge on the other stakeholders that are going to be embedded in there. I don't know if you have 3 minutes more for a last question, so maybe we can take another one. I think that Mr. Laros can pose his question directly, because I think it's relevant for the last topic we have discussed. So, Mr. Laros, if you see our invitation to be accredited as panelist, please accept it and intervene, unless he left meanwhile, which looks to be the case. Here it is. Okay, so feel free to open your microphone and camera.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon. It was already nearly a complete hour of interesting information, and the last question and the last response by you on this question already anticipated on my question, in fact, on governance, because we have to deal with a complicated environment, and researchers in particular, they are confronted with a lot of new programs, new initiatives, all kinds of hubs, all kinds of ecosystems, all kinds of, let's say, converging, but still changing and diversified labels, in fact. So this is a big issue to try to make the storyline clear. And therefore, the Commission, of course, leading by example, has a role to play. And my question was more in particular, when research area is in fact evolving towards research and innovation area, a research and innovation and transformation area, you could say so. How will you deal with the particular challenges of these transformation agendas? For example, with these industrial alliances, what was my particular question? If there are all kinds of integrative initiatives taken by your colleagues in DG Industry, or DG Grow, and your integrative initiatives, this will again confuse possibly the actors that will be called upon to come to integrating meetings from different DGs. So how do you think you can contribute to more streamlining and clarity, for example, on the agendas of the industrial alliances, and possibly already answered by these industrial roadmaps?
Yes, this is exactly what we try to do with industrial roadmaps. This is exactly what we try to do, to link the work that we are doing through the partnerships, the missions with the industrial roadmaps, with the industrial alliances. But I would say that you presented very well. Indeed, the new ERA communication, the ERA policies about research and innovation and transformation, I like very much the way it was presented. And actually that was the novelty, that we don't want just to repeat the standard reforms that we need to do, which is very important, but also to look indeed how this new policy area, the new ERA, will deliver innovation and transformation. And I have to admit that the difficulties that member states encounter in synergies between the different ministries, we encounter internally also in the Commission, and we'll try to do our best to work in a coherent approach and to link the different initiatives and not to create complex situations for the outside world. So we do our best. First of all, internally in the Commission, at least for the Horizon Europe program, we have a strategic framework established where all the DGs will discuss the priorities. We are going to do the same with the ERA, so the DGs are well aware, but it's still complex. We'll try to do our best, and I cannot say more. We try to do indeed our best, but it is complex, and I understand.
Well, the Commission is a complex animal, we have to admit on this, and yeah, we know it, but I personally think you're doing a great job in trying to harmonize the approaches of the European stakeholders, which are also another complex animal to manage. So saying that, I would like to thank you very, very much for this very interesting and challenging 1 hour with Europe appointment. I would like to remind our colleagues that are still connected that we are already working on the next edition in April. We will announce it soon, hopefully, as soon as the speakers are going to be confirmed. And by the way, we also had the honor to have Angelo Wille being part of 1 hour with Europe, introducing even the concept of the roadmap. So for the one which would like to see again the 1 hour with Europe we just had, it will be published on the 1 hour with Europe page recording, so you can also have the possibility to listen to Anna for the second time in case you're interested. Otherwise, if you want to tell to friends, of course, they're welcome to do it. For the moment, thank you very much for your attendance and your active participation, and see you at the next edition of the 1 hour with Europe with Anthony. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.